The 20s are here. Roaring 20s Part 2, here we come. Hopefully Great Depression, the sequel, doesn't come, because that would really suck. And like I said before, me and you, we're gonna do this together. 2020 is gonna be our year. 2020 is gonna be our year.
U.S. drones killed one of Iran's most powerful military
general has been
leaders
killed in an
overnight.
airstrike while leaving
Strong
the Baghdad
winds
airport.
and unstoppable
Terrifying
flames.
scale of Australia's
Kobe
bushfire
Bryant
disaster.
was on board that helicopter.
Kobe Bryant died earlier this afternoon.
COVID-19 can be characterized as a
Confirmed
pandemic.
COVID-19 cases now surpassing
100,000 lives lost in the
Pushing
United States.
unemployment to its highest level
We
since
have
the
not
Great
seen numbers like
Depression.
that since the Great Depression.
Murder hornets, 2-inch-long Asian
The arrest
bees.
of an unarmed man turned deadly.
Get in the house!
Exactly what it looks like. We're just staying safely. I do not care who they're targeting at the moment.
So apparently, I'm a psychic. So I promise I'll never try to manifest the future, ever. Again, as the title of this video suggests, today is my birthday. Specifically, my 20th birthday. How does it feel to be 20, you may ask? Honestly, it's practically the worst. I can no longer subscribe to r/teenagers in good conscience. I still can't go to a club or gamble at a casino legally, so I pretty much have the worst of both worlds. As a matter of fact, before we found ourselves shuttered in our homes for 3 months, I was supposed to be visiting Japan and the Philippines with my family, and I was planning on vlogging it all. Obviously, that's not going to be happening anytime soon, so to compensate for that, here's a photoshopped image of me posing next to the Hachiko Memorial statue in Tokyo. You know, back in March, I really didn't think I'd be celebrating my birthday in quarantine like those who have birthdays in March or April. I'll admit, I was overly optimistic, which is quite a change because I don't really look forward to my birthday like at all. I've always treated it like a normal day where people whom I haven't spoken to in months, if not years, send me birthday messages followed by my response, thank you, smiley emoji. These last 3 months have been a huge change of pace for me. Like everyone else, I was forced to continue my education at Zoom University, which is kind of complicated when your major is dependent on in-person instruction. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't playing Fortnite during my Monday morning or evening lectures. However, I did manage to finish this semester with a 4.0 GPA without the need to opt for pass-fail. Not so subtle flex, I know, but I'm proud of myself. According to my class schedule next semester, 3 of my classes will be taught online, while 2 of them will be taught in a blended instruction mode, which basically means I can choose whether or not I want to attend class in person or remotely, which actually isn't that bad considering I'm gonna be a commuter student starting in the fall. But I'm definitely taking my production classes in person. Like, I'll show up to set wearing a freaking hazmat suit if I have to. As for what's going to happen between now and the fall, my plan is to create as much content as possible, learn as much as I can, and do whatever it takes to set myself up for success once this pandemic is over and once people start hiring again. Outside of school, I've been kept busy with a bunch of things, including seeing how long I can go without getting a professional haircut. This shit hasn't been cut since at least February, and I'm starting to question whether or not it's worth growing out for the meme. That is why, Governor Murphy, if you're watching this, please reopen hair salons and barbershops. I know the beer virus is still out there and all that, but I really don't trust myself with a pair of clippers even after binging several YouTube videos on how to cut my own hair. I'm starting to look like a hentai protagonist, not gonna lie. I was also fortunate enough to be able to keep both of my on-campus jobs for this semester and was paid regardless of my ability to work remotely because I was paid through the federal work-study program. One of those jobs was my position as an event videographer, and that later transformed into co-editor of the NYU LabCast, the official podcast of the NYU Production Lab. It was a super fun project to work on. I actually taught myself the basics of Adobe Audition just for this project alone, and I was able to listen to so many amazing NYU alumni and guest speakers and them talking about what they've been up to after their undergraduate experience. I don't think my episodes of LabCast are going to be available by the time this video drops, but if you'd like, you can check out previous episodes of LabCast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts in the description below. Working 2 jobs wasn't the only way I tried making money. I started reselling items on eBay, Mercari, and Facebook Marketplace, among other things, a Nintendo Switch and an Oculus Rift. Speaking of which, I actually managed to cop one myself because what better way to escape our reality than to experience a virtual one? Here's a clip. Full disclosure, the full video of what you just watched was actually my final project for my filmmaking fundamentals class. I'm not even kidding. I've also started to dabble in the art of the stonk market, or stonks for short, and based on this graph of my Robinhood account, you can precisely pinpoint the exact date when I discovered options trading and r/Wall Street Bets, as well as when I started to really study on how to become a successful trader. And that pretty much sums up what I've been up to lately. But none of my talk about hustling during a public health crisis really matters until this final announcement I'd like to make. This year, I'm proud to announce that in addition to a $20 donation I made to the Minnesota Freedom Fund last week, I've also used more than half of my final paycheck to pledge $25 to 6 worthy causes/organizations for my 20th birthday. First and foremost, the Black Lives Matter Foundation. The Black Lives Matter Foundation is a global foundation in the US, UK, and Canada whose mission is to eliminate white supremacy and build local power to intervene in violence inflicted on Black communities by the state or vigilantes. They're committed to struggling and imagining and creating a world free of anti-Blackness where every Black person has the social, political, and economic power to thrive. I can't talk much else about the Black Lives Matter movement just because I, along with countless others, am still in the process of educating myself on the present day issues the Black community is facing. But based on what we've seen in the last few years alone, along with all the other stuff that doesn't trend on social media, it's apparent that the United States still has a long way to go in its fight against the systemic racism that's been rooted in this country for decades, if not centuries. Next up is the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. The NAACP LDF is America's premier legal organization fighting for racial justice. Through litigation, advocacy, and public education, they seek structural changes to expand democracy, eliminate disparities, and achieve racial justice in a society that fulfills the promise of equality for all Americans. And the best part about the NAACP LDF is that when you go to their donation page, you can choose where your money is allocated, whether it be towards police reform, education, economic equity, or wherever it's needed the most. And to round out the organization's uplifting the Black community is Campaign Zero. Campaign Zero is a police reform campaign proposed by activists associated with Black Lives Matter with the goal of ending police brutality. More than 1,000 people are killed by police every year in America, and nearly 60% of victims didn't have a gun or were involved in activities that shouldn't require police intervention. Campaign Zero works on reducing these statistics by proposing policy solutions, including decriminalizing crimes that don't threaten public safety, ending profiling and stop and frisk policies, establishing standards and reporting of police use of deadly force, and increasing accountability for use of excessive force. In honor of Pride Month, I chose to donate to GLAAD, or the LGBTQ Legal Advocates and Defenders. They are a non-profit legal rights organization working towards eliminating discrimination based on sexual orientation, HIV status, and gender identity and expression. GLAAD achieves this through litigation, advocacy, and education in all areas of LGBTQ rights and the rights of people living with HIV. Year after year, I'm truly inspired by how much outpouring support there is for the LGBTQ community. And so the least I can do is to not only pitch in, but also, continue to educate myself on the various issues they currently face. With the coronavirus pandemic still ongoing, I also thought it was important to support those who've been affected financially, i.e. low-income individuals who are struggling to provide for their families because they've been either laid off or furloughed from their jobs. Feeding America is a US-based nonprofit organization that's a nationwide network of more than 200 food banks that feeds more than 46 million people through food pantries, soup kitchens, and shelters. Now more than ever, we're seeing long lines of cars outside of food banks giving away food to those who need it the most. We don't know when or if local businesses will be able to recover, nor do we know when life will return to normal. So it's crucial that we keep supporting organizations like Feeding America and prevent American families from going hungry. And finally, my personal choice, Love 146. Love 146 is a US-based nonprofit international human rights organization that works towards the abolition of child trafficking and exploitation through survivor care, prevention education, grassroots empowerment, and contributing to a growing body of research. Child trafficking is hardly talked about in the mainstream media, presumably because of how dark the subject matter is. However, it's important to recognize that this is a legitimate problem worldwide, and it's organizations like Love 146 that need our help, especially during this time of coronavirus. Most of their work is done in the Philippines, and the country has not only been affected by COVID-19, but it's also suffered from a volcanic eruption in January and a typhoon that made landfall just last month. I've known about Love 146 since middle school, and I've passively supported them over the years through the Amazon Smile program, which donates a portion of my Amazon purchases to a charity of my choosing. They are a very worthy cause, and if you can't take my word for it, do yourself a favor and go to their website, as well as all the other organizations I just talked about, in the description below. Additionally, I've provided some resources on what you can do to support the Black Lives Matter movement through either donating, signing petitions, educating yourself, learning how to be anti-racist, and a whole lot more. You know, it's actually kind of crazy if you really think about it, how we're actively fighting on two fronts right now. Like, who would have thought? And after pondering the times we're living in, I'm pretty sure I've reflected more on the past on my birthday than perhaps New Year's Eve. Interesting how it worked out that way. That's pretty much everything I wanted to cover in this video. I figured with the world going absolutely insane, now would be the perfect opportunity to not only voice my thoughts on what's going on in the world, but also provide an update on what I've been up to in quarantine. I'm really looking forward to creating and sharing more content over the summer, so make sure you're not only subscribed, but you've also tapped that bell icon to receive push notifications. Thank you so much for watching. Black Lives Matter. I will see you in the next video.